Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Raquel. So today you guys, I'm going to be showing you how you can better interpret your dreams. Just a method that I use to interpret any dream that I have. And I feel like dreams is one of those things that's like very important. And it's important because I feel like in life, you know, it can be very busy. You can have so many different priorities. You can be bogged down with so many different things. So you don't always have the time to practice mindfulness or look inward. Sometimes, you know, you're on a track of doing that and then something happens to where you kind of get off track. And so when that happens, I feel like things can kind of just pass you by in life to where you sometimes don't explore every emotion that you have, or you're not necessarily conscious of certain things about yourself, or you don't really understand things in its entirety, like things that's happening in your life. You really can't grasp why it's happening and the reasons behind it, right? So I feel like when you dream, it kind of bridges that gap between what you don't know and what you need to know, because dreams, they illuminate different things about ourselves, right? They show like certain emotions that maybe we're ignoring, maybe we're not exploring, maybe we don't really know that we have within inside of us. It also, again, allows us to just be more conscious of ourselves and just everything around us. It also allows us to understand things that we have a hard time grasping. And the good thing about interpreting dreams and things like that, everybody dreams, so everybody has that ability to be able to interpret dreams. Everybody can interpret dreams, and then everybody can interpret other people's dreams, right? It's just one of those things that requires you to build your skills up and be able to be spiritually disciplined to get good at it, right? But anybody can do it, and it's really good for your own spiritual use. This whole video is really good if you want to be able to better understand your dreams. And then I also think this is a really good video for people who have very specific gifts, to where they have to be able to interpret their dreams with their gifts and things like that, right? So for example, if you're a seer, this is a really good video too. And I know it's a lot more nuance and stuff when it comes to being a seer and things like that and having that gift, because it's one of those gifts where you can't necessarily grow into it. It's something that you just have and you mold, right? Like your ancestors chose you to have that gift. So it's a specific type of gift. And then it's also like between a seer and a non-seer. You know, if you're a non-seer, a lot of your dreams, the bulk of your dreams, are going to have to deal with you and your subconscious and the things that are tied to you. And a seer, they deal with those things as well, obviously, but they also interpret different things as well. Like a seer interprets the past, the present, the future. It gets really bit more complex, right? And they're not just dreaming, but they also are awake in their waking life and having visions and premonitions that they also have to interpret as well. So it can get a little bit more complex. So I can do a whole separate video, which would probably be a series, over how to kind of mold your seer ability and what that entails and stuff, because I do understand it's a little bit more complex, but at the base is like you still have to know how to better interpret your dreams, right? So this is a good video for both seers and non-seers, right? So in order to be able to interpret dreams really good, I feel like it requires certain skills, right? And I feel like either you have the skills or you keep interpreting dreams and those skills get better, right? So some really good skills to have or to develop, common sense, obviously, that's a skill. And having common sense is really just about having good judgment about things and having really good reasoning skills, you know, not necessarily overanalyzing or making things more complex than it has to be, right? Like, baby, if Johnny had 5 apples and I take away 3, how many apples do Johnny have? Common sense, right? So just having that common sense and not allowing certain things to kind of just go over your head. right? Another one is having really good muscle memory. So muscle memory is just the ability to be able to remember things, right? Especially when it comes to your dreams. So a really good way to really strengthen that muscle memory is to write your dreams down as soon as you wake up, right? Because sometimes there are times where you've probably woken up and you know you had a dream, but like instantly when you wake up, you just forget it. And sometimes, you know, after you sit for like a minute or two, the dream will come back and you're like, oh, that's what happened. But sometimes that's not always the case. But the more you write down your dreams as soon as you wake up, the better your muscle memory will become. And as you strengthen your muscle memory, you can easily remember the dreams that you have. Another one is really just having good pattern recognition, right? So the more you're able to recognize patterns, then the more easier pattern recognition will be for you, right? So like if you're having a dream and in that dream you see your childhood home, right? And every dream where you see your childhood home, you recognize like, hey, this is a pattern. Whenever I have a dream and the setting is my childhood home, I know that it has something to do with the past. Like what's going on in my life currently has something to do with the past, something that I experienced, how I was when I was younger, something to do with my past, right? So you start picking up on certain patterns. So pattern recognition is really important as well. So when it comes to interpreting your dreams, I feel like you should have some type of method that you use. Obviously, you know, I'm going to show you the method that I use. Hopefully it aligns with you as you use it. And if it doesn't align, you know, there's just different methods that you can use, right? But this is the one that's always worked for me. I feel like dreams have its own language, right? And once you understand the language, then you can just easily interpret any type of dream. So that brings me to this book, The Dreamer's Dictionary, okay? So this book is called The Dreamer's Dictionary from A to Z, 3,000 Magical Mirrors to Reveal the Meaning of Your Dreams. It was written by Lady Stern Robinson and Tom Corbett. This is a really good book. I met an elder years ago and she gifted me this book, right? She was a seer and she saw that I was a seer, and so she wanted to gift me this book to better mold my gift. And this is a book that basically gives general meanings of certain words, right? So if you write down your dream and certain words stick out to you, and I'll show you how to do that later about, you know, underlining certain words, but when certain words stick out to you, you can go look up the general meaning of that word, whether it's in a book, which I recommend this book, or whether it's just online. Go and look up the general meaning to see if it aligns for you, or see if there's something within that definition that you can take out of it to apply to your life. Because a lot of the times, certain words that you see, it'll be related to how you interpret it based off of your own experiences, how you see certain words, right? Words and meanings and symbols is always going to be personal, right? But it's good to see the general meaning of it, right? And I can show you guys, let's just pick a word, right, to show you something that's common word, so I can show you what I mean, right? Let's see, so many different words in here. Blood, right? So in the book, blood means be prepared for a period of hard work against hostile forces if you saw blood in your dream. If you were bleeding, try to avoid any sort of controversy with friends or relatives. However, if the blood was that involved in a transfusion, you could expect your difficulties to be very transitory. So really, this definition, I don't really the only part I could relate to with blood, because again, it's all personal to us, right? When I see blood, to me that word kind of deals with like shedding and releasing. So the only thing that kind of aligns, I would say, is the last different variation they had of the word. However, if the blood was that involved in a transfusion, you can expect your difficulties to be very transitory, right? So that transitory word of like things just being temporary. So like sometimes you may be going through different things in life or different emotions that can be very tough, and maybe like for me, I'll see like myself bleeding, but I know that whatever I'm going through is only temporary. So I would say that last variation, you know? So it's kind of like that, like kind of just seeing definitions and seeing if it aligns, and seeing also what does that word mean to you, and just kind of, you know, putting it together. So before I get into, again, the method of how we're going to do it, something that's really important also, like a whole side note or whatever, if you could also practice like that technique of lucid dreaming, I recommend it. I recommend learning how to lucid dream, because when you lucid dream, you're able to experience your dreams on a different level, right? Like you're able to think in your dreams. You're able to just have all of your different senses, your smell, your taste. Like you're literally in the dream as you're dreaming, right? So it can be very, very helpful. So that's another technique alongside this, is learning how to lucid dream, right? It's not necessary to be able to interpret dreams, but it just gives your dreams a whole different feel with knowing how to do it. That better helps interpreting dreams, but it's not necessary, but it's a really good skill to have, right? So the method, y'all, we finally get into it. Have your dream journal. Y'all, I have dream journals, right? Dream journals are so important. You gotta have one, right? So when you go to bed at night, have one at your bedside, right? Have one that as soon as you wake up, you can start writing in that journal. I know some people are like, oh, I'm not a morning person, and oh, you know, no. If you want to get better at this, you're gonna have to hold yourself accountable and have more discipline to be like, okay, as soon as I wake up, I'm writing in my journal, because that is what's going to strengthen my muscle memory and better help me interpret my dreams. So if you want to be good at this technique, you're going to have to put in the work. So I already picked out a couple dreams that I would share. It was hard for me to pick out a couple dreams, because I'm not going to lie, it was hard for me to pick out a couple dreams, because obviously I want this video to be kind of neutral, and so I wanted to have a dream for like a seer and a non-seer, because obviously with me being a seer, a lot of my dreams had to do with the future. A lot of my dreams had to deal with other people, because as a seer, you see into other people's lives a lot, to where that's why you can help them. So it's like I couldn't, you know, obviously show those dreams. So it was kind of hard for me to pick a dream, but I just wanted to show a dream that dealt with like myself and my own emotions or things that I was going through. And then also I had found another dream that kind of dealt with like on the seer side of like something in the past, but we'll get to it, right? So this dream was years ago. So the first thing that I did, I got my journal out that morning, and I wrote in it, right? So when you write in your journal, you want to be very specific, right? Again, if you can feel, if you can think, you want to put all that into this. That's if you're able to lucid. You want to describe everything, right? Everything in that dream, you want to describe it so you can better be able to interpret it. And the dream that I picked with this one, I won't lie, it had a little lucid in there, right? Because I was able to feel some stuff. But let's just get to it, right? So I might what I might do is rewrite the dream and underline certain things so you guys can see it on the screen too. So if you wanted to, like, after I read this and you wanted to interpret the dream and then press play, you could do that too, right? I am in a river and it is flowing. I am trying to get in the motion of the river, but my feet just keep hitting the floor. And the reason I wrote my feet keep hitting the floor is because I could feel it, right? I was lucid. I eventually start to get in the motion and move forward. As I go through the river, I see lemons. And in parentheses, I put 2 of them. So I saw 2 lemons that have bloomed, right? So the lemons were blooming. And that was the dream. That was literally the dream, right? So usually how I interpret the dream, I go line by line, right? So I'm going to take the first sentence. I am in a river and it is flowing, right? So something that sticks out to me in that first sentence is the word river. I am trying to get in the motion of the river, but my feet just keep hitting the floor. Another word that sticks out to me is feet. I eventually start to get in the motion, move forward. As I go through the river, I see lemons. I underline that word that sticks out to me. 2 of them that have bloomed. I underline 2 because that sticks out to me, right? So you see how you're not necessarily interpreting right away. You're just seeing what sticks out to you. So at that point, all of the words that I have underlined, that is when I go and sit with myself and think, okay, what do all of these words mean to me, right? What do these words mean to me? If you're still trying to build your skills, what you would do at that point is go to your dictionary, your Dreamers dictionary, to see the general meaning of it, or go look online to see the general meaning of it, and then see what that says and how you feel and what it means to you, to then have an understanding of what you think the word may mean, especially given all the details surrounding the dream, right? So when I see the word river, to me, just spiritually, when I think of the word river, that has to deal with things moving away from me, things that are not pure, things that I don't want to be away from me, like the impurities of things just moving away from me, right? And a river can help that happen, right? It flows, a river flows, so all of these things that are impure are just flowing away from me. Another word that I underlined was feet, right? So when I think of feet, it kind of just determines my movement in life and where I'm currently at. So in this instance, it said that my feet just kept hitting the ground. So because I was lucid, I literally could feel my feet at the bottom, right? Like I was not able to move because my feet was planted at the bottom. And then another word that I underlined was lemons. So to me, lemons just represent like cleansing and purifying and getting rid of things that don't align, right? Or things that need to be gone. And then I also underlined 2. So 2 for me in numerology, 2 has to deal with like being balanced, being aligned, and all of those different things, right? So that is when I just put it all together. So under what I had wrote, I then have another section where I go into the meaning of what it means. And so as you go into the meaning, you guys, also take into account to what is going on in your life in the moment, right? Because like I said, your dreams is going to have to deal with your subconscious and how you feel and things that are currently going on in your life. So you're going to use all of those different things to then come to a conclusion to what your dream means. So at this point in my life, this is what it meant. I wrote, I feel like at this time, a lot is happening around me, a lot of different changes. I'm mentally stuck in the past, hurt over everything that I lost. I know I need to move on to where I need to be. I need to accept what is. River represents movements, transitions, letting go. My feet hitting the ground represents my unwillingness to accept change and wanting to live in the past. I eventually flow with the water, which tells me I eventually will move on. The lemons blooming represent me cleansing and detaching myself from everything that doesn't align. 2 represents alignment and balance. I'm moving more towards alignment by detaching everything that doesn't align. I'm about to have more stability in my life in different areas. So this was a dream I wrote years ago, and I think sometimes we just go through those patches in our lives where spirit wants us to change certain things about ourselves, but sometimes we can be very stubborn. So I think that was just what I had going on. So now I'm going to go into my most recent journal. And this dream is going to be geared more towards, like, if you're a seer, right? To show you how to interpret dreams, whether it be from the past or whatever, or the future. This is more from the past. Again, it was very hard for me to pick a dream just because some stuff has to be private, right? But the reason I'm comfortable with sharing this dream, it doesn't have anything to do with me. It has to do with a celebrity. I have dreams all the time about celebrities, things that they have going on, things that they've done in the past or in the future. I'm not out looking for this stuff. It just shows up, right? But I never tell anyone about the dreams I have about celebrities. But the only reason I feel comfortable even sharing this dream is because the person already came out and exposed this stuff. The person already explained their truth. I don't explain other people's truths, right? So that's why I'm not even going to say this person's name. If you know, then you know, because they already spoke on it. But I just had to pick something, right? So in this dream, okay, it says it's dark at night. Said celebrity is looking younger than he does in his present day. He's walking down the street with his head tilted back and eyes rolling back. His head is swaying left to right. His arms are very relaxed and swaying as well. So something that stood out to me in the first sentence was night. Like, it's dark at night. So night stuck out to me. The word younger stuck out to me. Eyes rolling back, that stuck out to me. In the word relax, that stuck out to me, right? So when I think of night, I think of like the shadow side of things that are hidden emotions, negative behavior, things that we should work on. That's the way. So whenever I see like that in a dream, like when it's nighttime, I already know this has something to do with the darker parts of ourselves or hidden emotions or things that we're battling, right? I automatically know that when it's nighttime. I underline younger because that shows me the time, right? A lot of times as a seer, when you're seeing things in the past, sometimes there's certain details that let you know like it's in the past. Like for me, when spirit is showing me something in the past, not always, but sometimes before the dream continues, I'll see like a clock, and then it'll go counterclockwise. Like the hands will go counterclockwise, which lets me know like, okay, this dream's in the past. I didn't get that this time with this dream, but because I know that this celebrity is older, and then in the dream they look younger, that lets me know like, okay, whatever is happening in this dream is related to something they did in the past, right? Another thing that I underlined was eyes rolling back. So if you've ever been around someone that's inebriated or under the influence of something, their facial expressions will be different, right? How they look will look different. How they act, like they'll have a certain type of behavior. That's how you can tell like, okay, this person is obviously under the influence of something else. I also underlined the word relax because I saw that their arms were relaxed, right? So that further tells me that this person is under the influence of something, because when you're under the influence of things, sometimes you don't have control over your body, right? You don't really have a lot of strength and control over your body. So I underlined it too. So the meaning that I wrote for this: said actor has had some type of history with drug usage in his past, being that he appeared younger. His body being relaxed and him having no control points to drug usage of some sort. So that was just something that I got from that. And again, I'm gonna rewrite these things because obviously I definitely have to rewrite this. So yeah, you guys, that is my method for interpreting dreams. I hope it makes sense. Just a couple of things to know. Learning how to interpret dreams takes discipline, right? It takes discipline. It's not something that you're gonna be amazing at overnight. It takes time, it takes practice. And so just really put the time and energy into doing it if that's something that you want to be better at and learn, right? And it doesn't matter if you have a certain gift or don't have a certain gift. It doesn't matter. You're still going to have to do the work, right? Like a person, they can be extremely smart and they have the potential to be like a neurosurgeon or something. But if they're not putting in the work to work towards that and use their gifts to be good at doing that, they'll never be that, right? So it doesn't matter how much potential that you have or whatever, you still have to do the work, right, to help mold that. Another thing, protect your dreams, right? So again, that's a whole separate video, but you should have certain things that you do to protect your dreams, to make sure that the information that you're seeing is accurate, it's not manipulated, and it just has a lot of clarity around it, right? That's a whole separate video. But just make sure like there's some type of prayer you're saying before you sleep that protect your dreams, or you're doing certain type of cleansings, right, weekly to help protect your crown, right? So again, that's a whole separate video, but just make sure you're protecting that space, because dreams is a form of divination, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it, you guys, for this video. Thank you so much for your time. The Q&A video, I'm still going to do that. Thank you guys to get me to 1,000. I'm still going to do the Q&A video probably next week. So actually, by the time I do that, I'll already be done recording it. So just thank you to everybody who sent in questions. I really appreciate it. And yeah, the video after this one will be the Q&A video. So thank you guys, I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you guys later.